If I could tell my younger self one life-changing message, it would be this. You don't get one shot at a wealthy life. You get thousands. Every day, you wake up with choices that move you closer to wealth or bury you deeper under someone else's expectations. And I want to speak to the people who feel stuck between those two worlds. The ones who were told that success looks like a safe job, a predictable salary, and maybe a few paid days off if your boss approves. That script was written for you before you were even born, and most people never question it. The transcript talks about how society rewards you for staying average and staying in line. It warns about drifting through life and letting the world choose for you. So let me expand that idea and strip it to its bones. Most people don't fail because they don't have talent. They fail because they never steer the wheel of their own lives. They drift. You don't need to be reckless. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow. You don't need to move to a tiny apartment and survive on instant noodles to become rich. But you do need to stop floating through life thinking the answer will reveal itself one day. Nobody drifts into wealth, nobody drifts into purpose, and nobody drifts into freedom. Drifting is when your life happens to you instead of flowing through you. It looks like waiting for motivation before starting anything. It looks like repeating habits you didn't choose. It looks like doing what everyone around you is doing, even if you hate their results. A friend of mine once spent 6 years bouncing from hobby to hobby. 1 week he was learning to code. Next month, he wanted to be a music producer. Then he was looking at online stores. It all ended in the same place every time. Halfway done projects and an empty bank account. He kept telling me he was still figuring life out. But the truth was simpler. He wasn't figuring, he was drifting. The transcript calls this out directly. It says when you don't choose a direction, the world picks one for you. And I think you already know this. You've seen it. Friends who said they would start a business someday and never did. People who dreamed of living abroad but now complain about the same things every year. People who talk about freedom but never take one step toward it. That's what drifting steals first, the courage to decide. Let's talk about the opposite of drifting. Not achievement, not wealth, not success. The opposite of drifting is intention. Intention is when you say, yes, I want more, and I'm allowed to want that. Some of you grew up hearing that wanting money makes you greedy. The transcript challenges that thinking and says something that many people are afraid to admit. Money gives you freedom. It pays for your mistakes, it pays for your second chances, and it pays for choices that don't exist for the people who are stuck. There's this myth that wanting wealth is selfish. But I think poverty can be selfish too. Not because of character, but because of limits. When you have no money, your choices shrink. Your voice shrinks. Your life shrinks. And you aren't able to help yourself or anyone else. Wealth isn't an escape, it's an amplifier. If you're kind, money gives you ways to be more kind. If you're ambitious, money gives you leverage. If you have dreams, money unlocks the door you were told you couldn't open. But none of that happens until you move into the next phase that the transcript talks about, obsession. Let's talk about that word for a moment, because many people misunderstand it. When some folks hear obsession, they picture burnout, panic, or grinding until you collapse. They imagine an unhealthy fixation. But obsession is just focus with commitment attached. It's the moment your dreams stop being a fantasy and start becoming a priority. Think of obsession as the day you stop being available for distractions. It's when you stop negotiating with your future. It's the moment you say, I'm done waiting for life to give me permission. One day you wake up and something feels different. You don't have all the answers yet. You don't even know the full plan. But you decide that drifting is over. You get one life. Don't spend it building someone else's dream. In the next part, we'll enter phase 2, obsession, but not the cliche version you were warned about, the real version, the healthy version, the one that moves the needle. When you enter the stage the transcript calls obsession, the world doesn't suddenly hand you a plan. You won't wake up with a perfect roadmap or skills or confidence. No one taps you on the shoulder and says, you're ready now. The transcript describes young people who say they want to be rich, but their actions don't match their desires. It talks about how most people try to chase 5 dreams at once and how that single choice creates failure. The reason obsession matters is because it forces you to choose. Most people never choose. They spread themselves so thin that nothing grows. I learned the hard way that the world doesn't pay you for being a generalist with random goals. The world pays you for being deadly at one thing, not 10, not 5, 1. A lot of people fear the word obsession because they think it means becoming someone different, like it requires abandoning life, or working 100 hours a week, or rejecting every hobby. But obsession doesn't take away your personality. It takes away your excuses. It's the moment where you stop being curious about success and start building toward it. That doesn't mean you need to act like the influencers online who scream about hustle culture. Quiet obsession is far more powerful. It's the kind where you rearrange your priorities without announcing it. It's waking up not with motivation, but with clarity. There's a story I always think about. When I was younger, I met someone who wanted to be a photographer. He didn't have fancy equipment, he didn't have connections, but every single day he practiced taking pictures. He studied light. He stayed late at work to learn editing. He wasn't lucky. He wasn't gifted. He wasn't even confident. He was just obsessed. People didn't take him seriously at first. They laughed at the idea. They assumed it was a phase. Years passed. His skills grew. His reputation grew. His opportunities grew. Then one day, seemingly overnight, he was the talented guy. But it wasn't overnight, it was the compound interest of obsession. That's the part the transcript hints at. Success doesn't start at the moment you achieve it. Success starts at the exact moment you bet on one direction and shut the door on the rest. The world doesn't reward you for being interested. It rewards you for being committed. The transcript talks about this next phase as discovery. It says you don't need a revolutionary idea. You don't need to invent the next big trend. You just need to find something that already works and learn from people who are ahead of you. There's a trap that motivated people fall into, trying to be original too early, trying to create something unique before understanding the fundamentals, trying to act like a leader before being a student. No one becomes wealthy by accident. They model patterns. They study what is already producing results. They find someone who is doing the thing they want to do and they reverse engineer the pathway. Copying isn't stealing. Copying is training. You don't learn to paint by inventing a new color. You learn by imitating the techniques of masters before you. Wealth works the same way. The transcript talks about learning from someone who has already done it. It describes the power of observing, asking questions, and uncovering proven pathways. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of building wealth. Your first success comes from following in someone else's footsteps. Your second success comes from designing your own path. Discovery means going from I want to be rich to I know the vehicle. That vehicle can be anything: a skill, a business, a service, a product, a strategy. But it has to be specific. Wealth doesn't respond to vague desires. It responds to clear targets. There are two types of people who fail at this stage. The first group tries everything. The second group tries nothing. And both of them end up in the same place. The ones who try everything jump from business to business, shiny opportunity to shiny opportunity, convinced that the next thing will be easier. The ones who try nothing wait for the perfect moment that never arrives. The ones who win are the ones who choose a path and stay long enough to get good at it. Choosing a skill is not the decisive moment. Committing to it is. When I learned my first money-making skill, it didn't come from books or theory. It came from watching someone who already knew what they were doing. The fastest way to grow isn't starting from zero. It's standing on the shoulders of someone who already solved the problems you haven't faced yet. That is what discovery really means. Not inventing, not dreaming, not planning endlessly. It means finding the shortest path between where you are and where you want to be, and then walking it. In the next part, we talk about the phase where most people finally move from planning to action, the stage the transcript calls acceleration, where you stop learning and begin earning, where you stop thinking and start doing. The moment where most people hesitate. They have the idea. They see the path. They might even know the sill. But action demands something that thinking does not. It demands risk. The transcript calls this stage acceleration. It says the fastest progress happens when you stop waiting to feel ready and start moving forward. It talks about launching, practicing, and even doing free work when you don't have clients yet. The early results won't look impressive. They might even look embarrassing. Your first attempt at a business won't be polished. Your first design won't win awards. Your first product won't be perfect. This is where most people run back to planning because planning feels safe. Planning feels intelligent. Planning feels like progress. Action feels vulnerable. Action is where you see your limits. Action exposes what you don't know. But that is the point. You only get better by stepping into the arena. You only sharpen a blade by using it. The transcript brings up something important: constructive feedback. It explains how many people only seek advice from friends or family, and those are often the worst sources, not because they are bad people, but because they don't have the experience to guide you. They won't tell you the truth. They don't know what good looks like. In this stage, you have to look outward. You have to find people who are better than you. You have to be willing to hear the truth. You have to become coachable. There's a reason this phase feels lonely. The transcript says that most successful people remember this chapter as a period of isolation. You start drifting away from old friends who aren't aiming for growth, but you aren't yet surrounded by people who have made it. It's the gap between the life you're leaving behind and the life you're building. That middle ground can be brutal, but it's where the most dramatic transformation happens. Think of it like a rocket launch. Almost all the fuel is burned in the first stage. Not to move fast, but to escape gravity. The gravity of your old life. The gravity of your old beliefs. The gravity of everyone telling you to stay the same. The world around you might not change yet, but you do. You start waking up hungry. You start practicing when no one is watching. You start refining. You start breaking your old limits. I once knew a person who ran a small cleaning business. His first few clients paid him barely enough to cover supplies. His first invoices weren't professional. His first reviews weren't incredible, but he kept going. Every job made him a little better. Every customer taught him something new, and every mistake became part of his training. Years later, he had dozens of employees, a waiting list of clients, and contracts he never imagined. But that success didn't start with brilliance. It started with being willing to be bad before getting good. Acceleration is where results start appearing. Small at first, then bigger, then undeniable. One day you stop being a beginner. One day you stop doubting yourself. One day you look back and realize the world is reacting to your work. But even this stage isn't the finish line. Making good money is only part of the story. The transcript says the real turning point is recognizing that wealth isn't just income. It talks about a final stage beyond freedom. A stage where you don't just earn money, you build it into something that lasts. That final stage deserves its own chapter, its own moment, because this is where you stop chasing money and start turning it into wealth. And when you reach that moment, everything changes. There is a moment in wealth building that almost feels unfair. The moment you go from earning money to multiplying it. The transcript says that the most valuable investment you ever make is not a stock or a property or a coin. It says the real asset is you. When you reach this phase, you stop thinking like someone trying to escape the system. You start thinking like someone designing their own. You begin to see that income is only the first ingredient. Wealth is what you build when the world can no longer take your time away from you. Money doesn't just buy things. It buys control over your life. It buys time. It buys second chances. It buys options. And when you have that, you face a fork in the road. The transcript describes this choice. You can spend your money to look rich or reinvest it to become wealthy. This is why so many people earn a high income but lose everything. They reach the finish line and then walk backward. They buy status instead of freedom. They trade future potential for short-term comfort. They mistake financial independence for a shopping spree. Wealth is not what you spend. Wealth is what you keep and grow. This is the moment when your identity shifts. You go from chasing approval to chasing advantage. You stop buying things to impress people who were never watching. You start investing in the future version of yourself. The transcript talks about building multiple streams of income. It mentions investing, skills, business, assets, and it also makes a simple observation. Most people don't make that shift because they choose short-term pleasure instead. Think about the difference. The poor spend money to look rich. The wealthy invest money to stay free. What you buy today is borrowed happiness. What you invest today is permanent freedom. There is a personal transformation that happens here. You don't just earn money, you understand it. You stop seeing wealth as a finish line and start seeing it as a foundation. The world begins to react differently to you. Opportunities appear that you didn't even have access to before. You realize that the real reward of money wasn't the money, it was the person you became while learning how to earn it. You don't need to be a genius to get here. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need luck. You need three things: direction, commitment, and courage. Direction stops drifting. Commitment creates obsession. Courage builds skill and action. And when you combine those, money follows. Not instantly, not magically, but predictably. This journey is not about becoming someone different. It's about peeling away the version of you that was shaped by fear and doubt, the version that grew up being told to stay small, the version that believed wealth was for other people. No one wakes up and accidentally becomes wealthy. They make decisions the drifting world avoids. They stay focused when others scatter. They study what works instead of chasing distractions. They invest in themselves before asking for results. Every rich life begins with a single moment of clarity, a moment where you say, I choose growth, I choose purpose, I choose freedom, I choose to stop drifting. If you take anything from this entire video, let it be this. You are not stuck with the life you were handed. You are not defined by where you started. You are defined by the decisions you make from this point forward. Wealth is not an accident. Freedom is not a lottery ticket. It is a skill. It is a mindset. It is a choice. So choose the path that leads to the life you want. Choose the habits that pull you forward. Choose the people and the actions that move you closer to freedom. One small step in the right direction beats 1,000 excuses in the wrong one. If this video helped you, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment and tell me where you are on your journey, and share this video with someone you care about. Sometimes one message can change the direction of an entire life. I hope you build a future you're proud of. I hope you find your path and protect it. I hope you remember that you are capable of far more than you've been told. I wish you luck on your journey. And when you're ready for your next step, feel free to watch the other videos on this channel. I'll see you in the next one.